Shalom everyone and Shavua Tov. We are in Parashat Balak. Parashat Balak is in the book of Numbers, chapter 22, verse 2. And it starts, Vayar Balak ben Tzipor et kol asher asa Yisrael laEmori. And Balak, the son of Tzipor means a bird, saw whatever the Israelites did to the Amorites. Okay, so in order to understand the background of this parasha, because this parasha, if you read it, it sounds like the Lord of the Rings of Tolkien, or one of these fantasy witchcraft books. Very, a lot of people read the Torah. It's like, what is this story about? However, it's very important because it has a message to each one of us, even though we are not interested in witchcraft and magic, and we don't like fantasy movies. First of all, just the background. If you didn't notice, during Parashat Chukat, which was last week's parasha, we jumped 38 years in the calendar. The beginning of the parasha, we're still dealing with the laws that Moses and the Israelites got on Mount Sinai. In the middle of that, God is telling Moses, that's enough being in the desert and going back and forth. It's time to turn towards the promised land. How to approach the promised land? They're coming from the Arabian desert, and they go around Edom. Edom, if you know the map of Israel, if you're standing in Jerusalem and you look on a high place, and you look to the east, you'll see the Dead Sea. South of the Dead Sea, where you have Petra, the red rock, this is Edom, the red nation. Okay? So Moses tried, it says in the previous parasha, to cross through Edom, the shorter way to approach the promised land, which is on the west side of the river Jordan, and the Edomites did not allow them. Same with the Moabites. If you're again standing in Jerusalem and see the Dead Sea, behind the Dead Sea, this is Moab, on the east of the Dead Sea. Okay, so they went up north in the desert, okay, up north. Now they're facing what is Jerusalem, and now there's the kingdoms of the Amorites. And then Moses is asking them, I want to go home. We all want to go home. We were 400 years in exile in Egypt as slaves. We want to go home. Let us go through. We won't hurt anyone. We'll pay for the water we drink and so on. The Amorites attacked them, and Moses has no chance but to attack back. And they take over the kingdom, the two kingdoms of the Amorites. They stretch from across the river from Jerusalem, but on the other side, the east side, all the way up to the Golan Heights. And that area later on becomes the territory of Reuben, the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Gad, and the tribe of half of Manasseh. Now they're standing, after taking over those kingdoms, they're standing in front of Jericho, okay? The other side, the east side of the river Jordan, Jericho is the west side of the river, and they're waiting for Moses to complete the preparations, and then Moses is supposed to leave, Joshua is supposed to take over, and then they enter to the promised land. Okay, this is the story. However, as we said, south of where they were standing, they were the mountains of Moab. And Moab was a kingdom, if you remember Moab and Ammon, they were two kingdoms that came out of two sons of Lot, the nephew of Abraham. Okay, just if you don't follow the complication, open a biblical a map of ancient Israel, you'll see all of this happening in front of you. Now the king of Moab, his name is Balak, and you have to understand, we know it today from archaeological excavations. The kings of all those ancient nations, one of the reasons they were powerful enough is that they were very, very powerful in black magic. Everybody knows Egypt. Egypt without black magic, this is no Egypt. It's all about magic. Same thing you find in Canaan, all of this area of the Levant Every kingdom was ruled by magic. If you go to the excavations, you can find in every diggings tools of black magic and sorcery and stuff like this. Exactly as the Torah is telling us. So of course, no exception. Balak is trying to find out how to protect himself from the Israelites because he's afraid. They just devoured the two kingdoms of the Amorites. They can devour him. He has no idea. Think about it. With all his power, he has no idea that Moses was told by God, do not touch the Moabites. Only King David, almost 500 years later, got the permission to take over Moab. Moab was not touched by the Israelite by order. Just ask. Send a mission saying, I want to have peace. Okay, and they will say, yeah, you can have peace. We're not going to touch you. They told him they're not going to touch you. But there is a problem over here. When you are so deep into sorcery and evil and conniving against other people, you can't trust people. You are sure that everyone is busy thinking how to hurt you. And you know what? In most cases, this is not the truth. Most cases. Why? People are too busy than, being busy trying to find a way to hurt you. Okay? And there's another question. Here we have Balak, a great sorcerer. He hires Balaam, even a bigger sorcerer than himself. And together they are trying to destroy the Israelite nation. Basically what it says in the Torah, they want to have a genocide. They want to exterminate every Israelite, every child of Israel. Okay? They can't make it. And you know what? At the same time, this story is happening. As Balak is calling Balaam, who was a great sorcerer of the dark side, as it says in the Torah. And he was a master, the biggest, and you can find it in the Midrash. He was in a level of power, of prophecy, and connecting to sources like Moses. However, on the other side. Okay? And Balak, how did Balak see that? Because when Balak was doing his witchcraft, he realized that when the Amorites, says the Zohar, when the Amorites attacked Israel, they didn't attack just with an army. They also used, like in the ancient world, they also used witchcraft. And what did Moses do? Moses, learning and knowing all the forces of this world, how they are operating, simply knew how to counteract that magic just to show us that. And basically, remember, the Amorites were not a target. They were not a goal. They fell just because they attacked. So when we are too busy hating somebody, getting angry about somebody, because either we want to get even or we are afraid, when we have fear as a motive, the fear is so blinding that gets you into actions that can lead us to a demise. We spoke about it just a few weeks ago when we spoke about how do we know what is a free will? How do we know what to choose? Which direction to take? What's a person to get married to? Where is the place I should live? There's so many choices we have to make in order to become the person we want to become. How do we make the right choices? And here the whole thing comes all over again. And you have to remember, this parasha is always being read in the month of Tammuz, Cancer, which is a month that the Zohar warns us, it is a month of danger. We can get too emotional. And when we get too emotional, we have a problem of being too busy with what's wrong and not being busy enough with how right you want to make it happen. Okay, so again, we see here the parade of folly of the Amorites that lost their kingdoms. They were not supposed to. We see here Balak and Balaam that pay dearly for trying to destroy the Israelites, although they have no case. Israelites were not a threat at all. Okay, so how do we see that story? Because it goes through the whole story. So Balak, he sees how the Amorites collapse and being devoured by the Israelites and Moses. He realizes that he's not strong enough to fight by himself. So, like in the world, the way it is, people do coalitions to fight the common enemy, you know, and it's very, very, very common. So he calls Balaam, but he knows, how do I get Balaam to come and help me? And the Zohar says something really tough. He says he knows that Balak knows that Balaam is totally into evil. He loves to destroy, he loves to do evil, and he wants to do it big because he loves respect. So what does he do? The Zohar says he is saying, I know that you are so powerful and so great, and whoever you bless is blessed, whoever is cursed, you curse will be cursed. Please come and change history. Let's destroy the Israelites right now before they change the history of the Middle East and the whole world forever. Something so big. And he says, you'll be running the whole factory. You'll be running the whole project. You'll be the head of the coalition of the Moabites and the Midianites and whoever hates the Israelites. Balaam is coming. But not before. There's a very, very interesting story. He says he pretends that he's a real prophet. And he was on the dark side. He says he's really having the power, but he pretends he's connecting to the God of the Bible, the God of the Torah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's pretending. He's saying to the messengers of Balak, I'm going to speak to God, the Lord, to Hashem, and I'll give you an answer in the morning. And in night, it says that Elohim appears to him in a dream. Not the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. It is Elohim, which is the angel of that place that he was there. That's not the God, it's a God. Okay, it's a power, it's like an angel. He pretends he's talking with a high power, but he's not. We already realize there's a problem. With all his wisdom. And again, even that message is very clear. When he's asking, should I go? And his angel says to him, Lo telech, that's verse 12, chapter 22. Lo telech imem, don't go with them. Lo ta'or et ha'am, do not curse them. Ki baruchu, they are blessed. Which means you will say, I'll curse them from home. Don't curse them. So you say, so I'll bless them. Don't, which means stay out of it. Okay? What happens? Balaam is telling them he's not going. They come to Balak, and Balak says, I know the guy. We didn't respect him enough. So he sends a second mission, and they say, we'll give you power, we'll make you the head. He gives him even more respect. And you know what Balaam is doing? Such a stupid thing. But very big people also make big mistakes. Everyone can fall into it, even the wisest people. Even the wisest people. And what does it say? Stay here for the night, I'll ask again. Are we right now bad-mouthing Balaam because we're joking about him? He was killed later on. He didn't come back home from that journey that he took. Are we just joking about him? Is the Torah talking about him to mock him? Or is the Torah teaching us about ourselves? How many times we ask ourselves and we ask God through prayers what to do, and we get the right answer, we know deep inside what's the right answer, but it doesn't fit our agenda. It doesn't fit our evil inclination. And and the result, what will be the reality? We ask again. We ask for another sign. We ask for another proof. And you know what? If you want it this way, then okay, go ahead, do it. And that's exactly what God is or the angel, in the name of God, is telling Balaam the second time, go ahead, but you do whatever I tell you what to do. Remember, at the end of the story, Balaam never comes back home. He is being killed. So the Zohar is giving us an amazing understanding. Here are people that hold themselves really high, with power. The Zohar says they were really talented and powerful and have the abilities. How come they get into such a blunder, such a blindness, such a wrong decision-making process in which they were hurt and they were not supposed to be? They just got messed up in something they were not supposed to be in the first place. And the Zohar says, which is an amazing thing, because the story is like this, because if you want to make it even stronger than that, because there are two questions. A, how do we make the right choice without fooling ourselves? B, what if we are on the other side? People are making the wrong choice. They're choosing to attack us and to hurt us and to do all kinds of evil to us. How do we get ourselves protected? How much do we have to work in order to protect ourselves? This is a very important question, because, it doesn't happen that you do something without having enemies. If you don't have enemies, they say it means you're not doing anything. So if you really want to do something good, you always have people trying to stop you and derail your project, life project, whatever, big or small. And the Zohar says as follows. The Zohar says that we have to remember that people's world is very small. People's decisions are very small. Everything we see is from a very small aspect. And therefore, because of it, we can't see the big picture. We never see the big picture, even if we think we see the big picture. I'll ask you a very simple question. 2008. The American economy collapses and takes the whole world into a recession. How many big analysts that are on a payroll of big governments and big companies saw it coming? Very small minority. Nobody saw it coming. Everybody was, wow, it's going, we are everything, the train of the world modern economy is running forward and up, and everybody was dreaming about making a lot of money, and suddenly everything came to a halt. Now that the whole world is again into even a bigger recession than in 2008, how many people saw it coming before? How many governments were prepared and ready for something like this? And how many big companies that were like just a few months ago were on top of the world, and right now they're falling apart into pieces, economies, countries, whoever. We always see a small picture. We can't see the big picture. So what's left for us? And the Zohar says what's left for us is faith. Faith in the good. It's like the two systems. There's a system of common sense and logic, and this system is tiny. You have the ability we have is to see only small, tiny pieces of reality. Of course, when you study Kabbalah, you realize already in the beginning, how much of reality can we understand with our brains? Very small, very tiny. If you have only a very small fracture of the data about any given thing, what are the chances that you will be able to make the right decision? And the answer is none. So says the Zohar. So the Zohar is teaching us a secret. How can we make the right decision? It is not about wise people with a lot of training. History shows a parade of folly. People with training and wisdom have a tendency to derail themselves, as we see here in the story in the Torah. People with power and respect, and they make terrible decisions. So why we are better than them? Why we are better than Balaam or Balak? Okay, and the answer is, here we see all of this is happening, and the Israelites are sitting there, and they have no idea it's happening. No idea. And the only thing that Balaam can say, one of the biggest things is, he said, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. How good are your dwellings, Jacob. Mishkenotecha Israel, your tents, Jacob, your dwellings, Israel. He looks at it with envy. And why? He's trying to curse. Meanwhile, the Zohar says God changed the wiring of the world. Something that is out of the picture. Something that is not even logical. So his curses could not hurt the Israelites. That leads us back to the story of Joseph. After the death of Jacob, after his burial, what happens? The brothers are coming back from the funeral, and they come to Joseph and said, Dad said, Father Jacob said, you should forgive us. And Joseph said, are you kidding? You meant bad, to sell me as a slave. But God meant it good, and that's what counts. If I'll be busy trying to get even with you guys, we won't be the 12 tribes of Jacob. We won't be the 12 tribes of Israel. I can't afford doing that. Because if I'm going to be able to just think about getting even with whoever thinks evil about me, I won't have a life. Remember that. So the Zohar is saying, what is the choice? Is the choice logical? No, it's not logical. The choice has to come from a gut feeling. But what gut? Every gut feeling is good? And as I mentioned before, Professor Daniel Kahneman got the Nobel Prize a few years ago because he proved that people make big-time decisions on the most important issues of their life, money, and so on, not based on logic, on gut feeling. So how do I know what's the right thing? And as Zohar says, it's all based on faith in the good. The moment we are applying ourselves, and this is what the Torah is teaching us. The Torah is not teaching us to be wise, to be smart. Oh yes, we have to study, we have to learn, but the purpose is not to be wise, because you see over here, the wisest people in the world, that have the access to the biggest amount of data in the world, they could not do it. Look at Pharaoh. He didn't listen to Moses. Egypt was, just came down to its knees. Never recuperate from that. Look at the Moabites, look at the Midianites, look at Balaam, what happens to them. They made wrong decisions, one after another, because they thought data is enough, and it is not enough. What you need is faith. And faith, it's not English. In Hebrew, Emunah. Emunah comes from the Hebrew word Amen. Everybody knows Amen. Amen doesn't mean right. I agree. Amen means connection. Connecting ourselves to the Creator. How? Just connecting the heart to the brain, to the mind, and then to the Creator. There's nothing else. How do I connect myself? Maybe I'm fooling myself like Balaam is fooled himself to death. And the answer is, we have to understand that the dark forces being shown in Parashat Balak are the dark forces that are available in each one of us. Sometimes we use them against others, but usually it backfires and comes back to us. But what if somebody is using these forces against us? You're not supposed to deal with that too much. First of all is faith. And how do you know you're connected to a good faith? So there's a story with Hillel the elder that this guy wants to convert. He comes to him, he says, teach me the whole Torah while I'm standing on one foot. You know, how would I know? And he sounds like disrespectful, but he gives him an answer, which is similar to an answer that Rabbi Akiva is giving 100 years later. Love others as you love yourself. Which means, we know it's not easy to love others. Not all the time. Sometimes it's easy. Most of the time, it's not that easy. Especially people that are very close to us. But the moment we are studying the Torah, studying the Zohar, the moment we're connecting to Shabbat, the moment we're connecting to the Torah reading of Shabbat, the moment we're connecting to Tefillin and to all of these tools of moral behavior written in the Torah, it's not because we want to come out right. It's because we want to connect, and that's what Emunah is about. We want to connect to that realm of the good. And that realm of the Creator, the realm of the good, the frequency, the universe which is hidden. You can't see it with the eyes. But you have to connect your soul, your brain, your heart to that. And this is 24/7 journey all our lives. There's no other journey. The moment we do that, which means it's not a matter it happens overnight, but the moment we just get ourselves again and again, you do your best. But remember, God will do the rest. People will try to destroy your life. But if you are connected to the light, can you bring darkness into a place of light? You will be protected. You can't think too much. Of course, if you see a place of danger, the sages are saying, don't go there. Okay? But what about the danger I do not see? What about those people that can hurt me, but I don't know they can hurt me? Why? I'm not wise enough. Who can say he's wise enough? It's all about choosing faith, which means connection to the light of God, which means, how do I know I'm connected? Love others as you love yourself. If you find inside yourself love, appreciation, tolerance, acceptance of the others, you know you're getting closer to the Creator. You're connecting closer to the Almighty. But if we find ourselves upset, evil, and you find that energy of fear controlling us, do not make decisions. Do not make decisions. Because if you choose when fear is controlling you, like Balak or like Balaam, or the desire for respect and power, or any kind of other lust, when this is the agenda, that's what is motivating us, we should be smarter than that. We should take a step back and saying, I'm not ready. I'm not connected. I'm not online yet. I'm not really aligned with the system, with the network of light and goodness. It's all about connecting to goodness, and that's what Emunah is about. It's not about faith, blind faith, but it is. The moment you connect to goodness, you know you'll be taken care of. As the Israelites, they don't know they're being attacked. They are protected. So the whole world will simply flow towards your direction. And even if you make mistakes, even if you make logical mistakes, you will realize that finally it will become right. Why would that become right? And that's the secret. Because whatever looks like a logical decision, and for that moment it looks like it's a right decision, it's not always the right decision. So what is the basic choice? It's between light and darkness. Like computers, on and off. Are you on? How do you know you're on? You find love towards your fellow person in your heart. And if you don't, find it. How do you find it? So the Zohar is giving us the tools. You go all along the Torah and the rest of the books. and the Mishnah and the Talmud and the Halacha and the Zohar, and especially when it says that the Zohar is one of the greatest protective tools, because you're studying the Zohar not because you want to be smarter. Okay, you will gain some knowledge and it's good, but the purpose of the studying of the Zohar and the rest of the other parts of the Torah and doing everything else like Shabbat and Torah reading and all of that stuff, there is one purpose. The purpose is, as it says, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu lezakot et Israel. The Creator wanted to purify Israel. Therefore, Lachem Hirba Lahem Torah Mitzvot. He gave them a lot of study, Torah, and the mitzvot, and the precepts. All of these are tools not to become religious people, but become positive people, so they are all tools to connect to the network of light and positivity. Then you can guarantee that if somebody wants to destroy your life, you'll be protected. You won't even know how. If you're going to make a very important decision, you will know it's the right decision because it will come from the best place. But if it comes from anger or from fear or from lust or from any negative emotion, not just that it's going to hurt yourself, it's going to hurt around, and you're not going to get what you're wanting. This is the thread in this parashot. And the moment we let fear and anger and all of those negative desires to guide us and to run the agenda in our lives, we will get backwards. And that's only death. In the end of the parasha, when it looks like somehow Balaam found a way to destroy the Israelites from within, people of unity, the Zohar is teaching us, no one can stop them. Even if they rebel against God, as long as they're united and they're full of love to each other, the Zohar says no one can stop them. So the Israelites were united. So divide and conquer. Balaam is giving an advice to Balak and the Midianites. Send your best girls with love into the camp of Israel and tell them, let's have free love. Everybody's equal. Everybody's okay. Let's do everything. Everything is great. And they do that. And they start, and there's a plague starting. Again, if you follow the lecture about the coronavirus I gave a few months ago, when there is free love and it's like people look at life like it's an open bar, and just take as much as you can. Why not? Life is short. You should just get as much as you want. When you just draw God's light without any inhibitions, without any values of honor and unity and love and family values, the energy coming down is called the judgments, the male judgment. Why? Because it's God's light. It never says no. You want, it will come in. The result will be a plague. And the plague erupts. 24,000 people are being dead. And the only one to stop it is Pinchas, because he is willing to sacrifice his life in order to create the counter judgment that can stop the plague. When he does it, he's dead, but he's being resurrected, and he gets the souls of Nadav and Avihu, becomes Elijah the prophet. Why? Because he didn't think about taking. He was thinking about giving everything, just for the love of his people, the love of God. And when you coming out of the love of God, you will know what to do exactly. And it will be the right thing, not the logical thing. Thank you, and have a great week and a lot of healing for us and for all of humanity.